Cold raindrops streamed down Tanya's face. Her hair was matted with moisture, and the flow of the night elements stole her body's warmth. However, Tanya did not care. She continuously gazed up at the skyscraper, hidden in the night gloom. The moonlight could not pierce through the clouds, and only one window on the upper floors continued to glow. The very room she had left a couple of minutes ago. Noticing a blurry movement, she channeled a flow of power to her eyes. Her pupils flashed with a golden radiance, emitting a few sparks of light, and the darkness receded, the unclear shadows taking shape. The figure of a girl with braided pigtails was reflected in the hotel window. The very person she had spoken to moments ago, Levi-chan or Serafal. She felt the woman's gaze on her skin. The light and friendly smile evoked contradictory feelings. Her hand clenched the radio as static came through. Puff, puff. Ane-san, report. What is the situation? Your orders. Without taking her eyes off the figure, she replied, everything is fine. 1. Stand down. 0. Stand down. Disengage surveillance and return. 7th will pick me up. Meet at the base. Understood. Suddenly, the familiar figure raised her hand and showed 3 fingers. Folding down 2 of them, she pointed the 3rd finger far away towards a huge skyscraper, 5 kilometers distant. Tanya frowned, watching as her acquaintance cheerfully waved in that direction, exuding rays of friendliness. Her insurance for the most extreme case was there. At least, that's what Tanya thought a second ago. A female voice came over the radio. Puff, puff. Ane-san, report. What is the situation? Your orders. She did not notice me. But how is that possible? I'm 5 kilometers away. Tanya smirked and replied into the radio. Heh, it seems that despite all the preparations, we still underestimated her. Oda, wave back at the target or she'll be offended. Oda, her trump card, if the situation went out of control. In fact, there were 2 decoys, 1 at 500 meters, 0 at 2 kilometers, but the main striking force would have been Oda, who was now 5 kilometers away, on the roof of that skyscraper where Levi-chan pointed. Oda possessed a very unique sacred gear. Not only did it allow her to take sniper shots over huge distances, but it also had one very interesting ability that could become the trump card in a critical situation. Although she looked back at the silhouette of the happy devil, she was genuinely smiling, showing something with her fingers to Oda, although it was doubtful Oda could catch anything. Tanya wasn't sure if even this trump card would help against such a monster. Although mathematically the chances were there, it was only theoretical. Only one thing was clear. The woman possessed an enormous combat potential, the limits of which Tanya could not even see. It's true. A devil king. Tanya looked back at the mesmerizing Levi-chan, then pointed at Oda and herself, bringing her fingers together. Huh. She wants to meet her. Huh. No, Levi-chan. Not now. I still need Oda in full psychological health, especially after the information you provided. But despite her thoughts, she nodded to her and vaguely waved her hand, indicating sometime. Then she spoke into the radio. Oda, cease surveillance and wrap up. We are returning to the base. We can't waste time. We still have a lot to do. Understood. The next second, a black BMW pulled up. One of the fighters in a black suit got out and helpfully opened the rear door. Tanya got into the passenger compartment, and they set off towards the manor. How were the negotiations, Ane-san? Everything is fine. She does not pose a danger to us. And it's good that's the case. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten off lightly. And most importantly, she gave me some critically important information. With this, we can act. The unnaturally serious eyes of the driver reflected in the rearview mirror. Can we assume she is our ally? No, we should not. It's too early for that. The full balance of power is unknown to us, and premature conclusions can be dangerous. But at least she is not our enemy. Levi-chan, Levi-chan, what should I do with you? Or rather, with your proposal? After talking to Levi-chan today, much became clear to me. Most importantly, I realized what a pile of shit I had stumbled into. Even during the fight with the arrogant little devil, it became clear to me that something was wrong. As it turned out, the little devil was the heir of one of the most influential houses of the underworld, Astaroth. No wonder he and his entire group were so strong. Furthermore, Grimmery and her entire company aren't even fit to tie his shoelaces at the moment. He himself is much stronger than she is. That became obvious when he unleashed strange dark energy. His power increased many-fold, and she had no choice but to use the sacred gear, the Illinium 95, the curse of being X, at full power for the first time since being in this world. Using her strongest spell, based on the curse of being X, she struck the area. But even that did not guarantee a clean victory. However, that wasn't what bothered her, but the consequences of using the ear. Could this have attracted the attention of being X? Damn it. But there was no choice. Talk about luck. Like some kind of curse, failure after failure. Moreover, even that didn't kill the little devil. The bastard managed to slip away. Although, according to Levi-chan, this was actually a plus. Otherwise, devils close to the Satans themselves would have been involved in the investigation, and then there would be no chance of escape. One of the devil kings was an offspring of this very house, Ajuka Beelzebub, and he, according to Levi-chan, is stronger than herself, though that is hard to imagine. However, any being of that level is a one-way street for her. Fortunately, they avoided that, and therefore, she can still struggle. The good news is that only the House of Astaroth will handle the situation, although even that won't be easy, considering her small army is practically out of resources. Oh well, there are options. We'll fight some more. I'm used to it, and I don't intend to give up so easily. Ane-san, we have arrived. The voice of Seventh pulled her out of her thoughts. Excellent, Seventh. Go check the condition of the wounded. I will deal with our languages, prisoners, for now, she commanded the fighter, stepping out of the car. Yes, Seventh still blamed himself for the mistake. While others fought for life and death, he was knocked out the whole time. But Tanya did not blame him. Besides, he was the one who managed to subdue the culprit, Freed. Everything will be fine, Seventh. Tanya patted him on the shoulder. Despite the unforeseen circumstances, we accomplished the main objective. Tomorrow, I will have all our people back on their feet. As if I would let these freeloaders kick the bucket like this. I didn't train them this much for nothing. And most importantly, I endured them. Ane-san, you're the best commander there can be. In a burst of emotions, he rushed to hug her. Internally grimacing, Tanya did not pull away and patted his back. Moral support was also necessary for the fighters. But after a couple of moments, Tanya felt his hand suspiciously begin to slide lower than her waist. Kah! The miscreant bent over from a kick to the stomach. Hands off. Tanya sighed heavily. Go carry out your order. Yes, Ane-san. With blazing eyes, he rushed towards the infirmary. And what had encouraged him so much? Damn it. Sometimes she just could not understand them. Entering the manor, Tanya headed into the depths of the mansion, where the entrance to the basement was located. During the operation, they managed to capture 2 very important languages, prisoners. Thanks to the information obtained from them, Tanya saw a way out of the situation. Levi-chan had finally clarified everything. Now then, coo. Approaching an unremarkable wall, she channeled magical energy onto it. The sound of a latch could be heard and a wooden panel slid aside, revealing a metal door. Performing the same procedures on it, the door opened inward, revealing a spiral staircase descending underground. Tanya winced, sensing the dampness of the surroundings. The premises were quite ancient, dating back to the mansion's construction several centuries ago. She activated her magical sight, and after a few minutes, she emerged into a wide, dark stone corridor. A row of ancient dungeons lined it. Attention, you have entered a rank C dungeon. Magical abilities are curtailed for intruders. Space is locked. Attention, maximum rank access, permission detected. Negative effects removed. Magical energy recovery increased. This basement, like the dungeons themselves, had not been used for a long time, and Tanya had concerns about their reliability. However, things were not so simple. The ancient legacy spoke for itself. Despite the unpresentable appearance, it performed its purpose flawlessly. A strange magical construct was placed on these rooms, the principle of which Tanya still could not understand. And the main thing was that there was an insulated barrier that prevented the use of teleportation and other spells unless there was permission or access rights from the clan leader. This, of course, did not apply to Tanya, as the leader was completely hers, body and soul. The only sad thing was that even he was unable to fully transfer control of the circuit to her, as she did not have their clan's blood. And this was perhaps the main reason why she still tolerated that pervert. Passing by the cells, she reached a slightly open dungeon door. Voices came from inside. And then Ane-san opened the doors to the truth from me. I still carefully cherish those memories in the depths of my soul, because then I realized the meaning of my life. Oh, interesting. So you claim she is capable of even that? Ha ha ha. Yes, suppressing the power of an entire clan. That's powerful. You weren't listening to me, were you? It was God's providence. It was inevitable. Fate itself brought us together. At that moment, I found myself and pledged my allegiance to her. God, you say? I know that God. He can go to hell. I'm so sick of all these damn fanatics. Hey, you better be careful with your language. If Ane-san hears you, you won't get off so easily. Of course, I didn't dare ask directly, but considering the power of light she possesses, she is undoubtedly one of the strongest saints in this world. I've seen those saints in a coffin. Hypocrites, damn 'em. Kicking me out just for doing their job properly? Screw them. Although yes, the power I saw that time, now everything makes sense. Tanya really wanted to know why a pervert and a maniac were chatting like good old friends. As soon as she entered the cell, the faint magical light from the ceiling revealed the not-so-comfortable setting of the small 5 by 5 meter square room. Thick stone walls and floor reliably prevented even the thought of escape. And it was not so much about the material as the spells laid on them. They slowly sucked the strength out of the prisoners, much like Yoshi's armor. Of course, not with the same efficiency, but enough so that they wouldn't die but would forget about escaping. The familiar Holy Father was chained to the opposite wall. The leader was sprawling casually next to the prisoner, sipping sake, as if chatting with an old acquaintance. However, despite the relaxed picture, Tanya did not miss the table with bloodied tools of known use and the leader's stained hands. The prisoner himself did not look well either. He was covered in burns and wounds of varying severity. They were not fatal, but they caused a lot of pain when inflicted. The picture came together in her head. So even he couldn't completely crack him. Well, Holy Father, what am I going to do with you? Tanya frowned, then glanced at the bloodied figure with black wings chained to the other wall. This one had already broken and all the current information was coming from it. Surprisingly, it took little time, unlike the priest. Who would have thought that such willpower sat within this damned maniac? Apparently, the leader realized the futility of trying to break him by force and decided to... Ane-san, you're back! As soon as he saw Tanya, he rushed to her, foaming at the mouth. Gah! I had to resort to intense methods to bring the subject back to his senses. Hands off, you damned pervert. What are you even thinking? Her heel stomped the face of this misunderstanding into the stone floor. But despite this, he happily grunted and his blood-eyed eyes darted around in ecstasy. Tanya kicked the incomprehensible creature away and headed for the prisoner. She couldn't help but admire how his eyes widened in shock and his jaw practically dropped. He clearly recognized her. Yes, until this moment, only her people had dealt with him. But now, since even the leader failed? Squatting next to our old acquaintance, Tanya said, "Well, hello, Holy Father, Freed. It seems this time nothing will stop us from having a joint service for His glory. Coo, coo, coo." A smirk spread on her face. He stared for a few more seconds, unable to process what he saw. But finally recovering from the harsh truth, a sneer crept onto his face. "We'll see about that, you god slut. Pah!" He spit in her face. Tanya unemotionally wiped the saliva from her face. Then she began to unfasten the enchanted chains from the prisoner. They crashed onto the stone floor, announcing their presence in the desolate dungeons of the ancient temple. A couple of seconds later, the Holy Father stood up, rubbing his hands and grinning maliciously at her face. "Leader, reverse the circuit and return his energy, and give him a weapon." The smirk on the leader's face widened even more. "Ane-san, are you sure? He is not a simple opponent, according to the reports. He personally took out half the enemies in the last operation. Maybe you shouldn't." Tanya turned and narrowed her eyes. The leader instantly unclipped a knife holster from his belt and threw it at the Holy Father's feet. Without hesitation, the man picked up the weapon, drew it from the skeet, and ran his tongue over the blade. "I don't know what you're hoping for, little girl, but playtime ends right here and right now. You locked me up God knows where, did what you wanted, but it's okay. I'll finally let loose. You will beg me for mercy while I slice you into salad. And that's not all. I'll gladly enjoy your squeaky moans when I have you, so much so that you'll regret ever being born." Ha ha ha! The Holy Father laughed in ecstasy, his eyes red with arousal drilling into her. Tanya unemotionally beckoned him with her finger. 5 minutes later, only a gasping body lay at Tanya's feet. Well, not exactly. His body, or rather his face, was pressed down by her foot, using him like a floor rag. The body of this miscreant twitched in convulsions, unable to obey the commands of his sick brain. His arms and legs were twisted at unnatural angles, and blood covered his face. Surprisingly, sparks of madness still shone in his eyes. His right hand, despite open fractures, stubbornly reached for the dagger on the ground. Tanya couldn't believe that even in such a state he was capable of acting. It was as if it were his instinct, his meaning of life. Only one truth hidden behind the madness. It could have evoked respect, but... "What a weakling you are, Father Freed!" Tanya spat out and stamped on his barely functioning fingers with her foot, crushing them into bone meal. "Ah!" "You know, Holy Father, I was sincerely surprised when I learned from the reports that you personally wiped out half of the enemy forces. I expected something truly substantial. However, looking at you now, I feel genuine disappointment." She lifted his bloody, blood-soaked face by the hair and looked into his eyes. Something flashed there. What was it? Ah, she understood. The sensation was different, but very similar. Her pupils flared with light, emitting a few sparks into the space. "Yes, you have potential. You have speed. You have strength. Is it possible that some experiments were performed on you? Or that magical enhancement? Ah, it doesn't matter. All of it is worthless without proper training and subordination." Tanya squeezed his head forcefully, eliciting another moan. "However, that doesn't concern me now. I used to think about taking you as a subordinate, but now I've changed my mind. Pah! To call me God's slut? I'm personally ready to tear that bastard's head off." He continued to stare at her with an unwavering gaze. And at some point, flashes of consciousness began to reappear in his eyes. All of this no longer concerns you, Holy Father. I do not need a fighter who does not adhere to subordination. Therefore, all your future pastime will stretch for a long, long time. You see, my fighters will need special training, and you are well suited for that role. So we will continue to use you as cannon fodder for some time, closely monitoring your health so that you can fully work off the resources spent during the operation. So, have a pleasant time. Did fear flash in his eyes? No, not just that. There was something else. But Tanya didn't care. Kicking the priest's head one last time, she headed for the exit. Leader, don't let him die before tomorrow. She threw at the bodies slumping into the corner of the cell. More than anything, Tanya hated such individuals. It was useless even to talk to this one. Oh well, she got the information she needed, so he was no longer necessary. So let him first work off the resources he wasted, and then she doesn't need mad dogs.